Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a window regulator repair on an E86 Z4, and it's exactly the same for the E85 Z4 as well. I'll be using a window regulator repair kit to replace the broken cable in the mechanism. But if you want to see a longer video which includes removing the window regulator from the car, repairing it and refitting it again, I'll link to that on one of the end screens at the end of this video.
My kit is quite a simple one. It costs about 20 to 25 pounds, so I suppose that's 30 to 35 dollars. So I'm going to start at this end. So the end of this cable has a little end on it that fits inside this mechanism here, and there's actually a little spool. I got a replacement one in my kit, but these as you can see slot into there. But what I'll need to do is remove the motor off of here and then access that so that I can anchor in what I'm calling the start of the cable section, and then I'll work my way around. So this motor is held on by 3 Torx screws, and these are T30. So just a little bit of gentle prying should get the motor off. So the problem we've got is we need to put this new end of the cable around the wheel, which is what I mentioned a minute ago, but we can't access the wheel which is inside there unless we pop this cover off. Now this cover is held on by these 5 rivets, you know, and they're not just a screw I can undo. Now I was hopeful that it would just pop off, but they don't seem inclined to, and what I don't want to do is to break this cover. And so what I thought I'd try in the first instance is a countersink, just to take that top edge off. Anyway, that's done it. So let's have a little look-see. Okay, so we're getting somewhere now and we can see the wheel. And of course, what we want to do is get our new cable in there. But can you see this piece here? Well, that shouldn't be there. And can you see these straggly ends? Well, it should be possible to lift this wheel out and wind in my new cable end. But it's all jammed at the moment. I can just see it all peeping around the edges here. So I'm going to go grab some grips, and that should free off this wheel. Let's just see if I can get under this bottom edge. Oh, here we go, finally. And it is slightly different top and bottom. So you can see that's just chamfered ever so slightly. And this is the side that has the drive for the motor on it. So you need to make sure that goes back in the right way again. Now down in here, all of that brown that you can see is old grease. And so I'm going to clean the old grease out of there and apply some new. And what I like to use is just a silicone grease. This one doesn't say silicone on it, but Dow Corning's a good brand of silicone grease. So that's that end sorted, which corresponds to that one. Work my way along, and it seems like there's a little clip here which holds it to the back of the door, or the inside of the door. So we'll transfer that. And then this pops off here. I'll just snip that away to make it a little bit easier. So now at this end we know that this little fitting pushes on and it goes into there. So I just opened the gap ever so slightly just to get that cable down into there. This next part's worth showing you a little bit more closely. So this is our cable which we've fed round the wheel at the bottom. But now this section you can see is just a straight section of cable before we get to the next part at the top. But it has this, it's like a little kind of crimped on piece, but effectively it sits in there. So this one needs to come out. But what I tend to do is I sometimes wind the cable around, and that just gives you a little bit of leverage. And now this thing needs to drop in there. Well, it went in pretty well, to be honest. So now this cable, we're following it along, the old one. And this piece we can just pop off here. And this corresponds to this new one that we've got. And it's a bit similar to the other one where it just needs a little bit of encouragement to get it past that edge. There we go. Obviously that nip point is to stop the cable coming back out again. So following this along, we can see the next destination for our cable is here at this bottom corner. And we've got another one of these which we had earlier, so it should be possible to locate it on the new cable. And here it is. So we know that this end feeds into here, and then this piece goes onto there. So we're just threading it to go around this wheel. Oh, there we go. And then we know this piece goes into here. So we're starting to get there now. So what I've discovered quite late in the game is that this piece here plays a bit of a role of getting that cable in easily. So if you just feed it into that, then it helps you get that cable in without having to do any levering. Okay, so we're finally back round to the beginning, and this is the final connection. And then we'll have to play around with this wheel, of course. But before I assemble it all, I just want to make sure that this is working nice and smoothly. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of silicone grease down in there. And when I insert this, it'll carry the grease down. Now I might as well clean this up. And by the way, WD-40 is a really good cleaner. It's not as good a lubricant as everybody thinks it is. So don't rely on WD-40 to lubricate this mechanism for you, because it just won't last. Alright, let's give that another try. You just have to make sure that the teeth are on the same side as the teeth on that. So now we can look to assemble that into this piece. And there's not a special end just here. It literally just fits into the back of that. There we go. And you actually feel it slide home.
Before we go any further, we need to tension up these springs that you can see here. So the solution I came up with is to use tie wraps to do this job. So what you need is one tie wrap in a small loop at the cable end, and another tie wrap in a small loop on the other side of the white fitting, and then a tie wrap that links the two. And when you tension that up, it'll compress the spring, and that'll give you the cable length that you need later to wind around the reel. And now we just need to repeat the process with the other spring where the cable returns back to the central reel. So I'm going to start with what I'm referring to as the bottom cable.
And I call it the bottom cable because this is the final position for the reel, and the bottom one goes on the bottom side. So you insert it vertically like that, the toggle, and then you can see which way the cable's going to go because it's leading that direction already. And you just wrap it around a couple of times until you've used up all the slack basically. Now this one's the top cable, and we're ready to get it started now. And again, you know, I call it the top cable because this is how the disc is going to finish, and this is where the toggle inserts. So just going to get that wrapped around a couple of times. And now this is the point where you're going to want to check all of these, because you need all of the slack you can get. Okay, so this is the position you want to end up in. So the reel's upside down. You've got two turns on both cables, and they're correctly in their grooves. This is the final tension that you're going to put on it. And so what you need to do is a final twist to get it the right way up. Like that. And now the tricky part is it has to go down into there. Again, go and check all of these. Make sure these are all fully tensioned. There's one of these just off screen that's popped out just a little bit. So I'm just going to sort that, and you'll see that I get a bit more here. There we go. And that's absolutely crucial, you see. And so now it's just a case of squeezing it into there, and it does take quite a bit of effort. Now this is really important as well, is because I started with the cables in the right position because I knew I was going to spin it. Then this cable, which I'm calling the top cable because it's this one, is actually on top. If you get that backward, then they'll be effectively crossing each other there and they'll bind. Now this reel looks like it's down, but it's not. Can you see this big gap here? Well, you need to push the reel that way until you hear it pop into place. And the best way you can do it is just push firmly here with your thumb. There you go.
Okay, so now it's time to reattach the cable mechanism to the backing plate, and if you remember before, we drilled out the rivets which was holding it together. So now what I'm using are some 8mm countersunk screws, and slimline nuts on the other side to reattach it.
I'm just going to put a little dab of Loctite on these screws, and that will make sure that they don't come undone. Now that you've got that all secured, you can go ahead and release the tension on these springs. Okay, so we're finally ready to put the motor back on, and then we can go ahead and install it. And the motor only really goes in one position because of the offsets on these screws. So you just need to line that up, and it has little splines on the shaft there. There we go. And so now we just hold the position of that, and we can flip it over, and that makes it a bit easier to go ahead and get these screws put back in. Well, I'm just going to use a little bit of this silicone grease along those. By the way, you may have noticed that these didn't pop out very much with the spring tension. These cables are brand new at the moment, but what happens is over time they stretch, but hopefully there'll be enough travel on the springs to keep tension on these cables and make it work for a long time.
Hopefully this video helped you, and if it did, then please consider giving me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to make sure you get to see my next video. And finally, if you want to see more videos just like this one, then why not check out the recommended videos on the right. Okay, thanks for watching, catch you next time.